The Lovers Pentacle, Chapter 10, Four Swords. No relation to Zelda. Oberon couldn't believe his ears, and he had heard a man's voice begging Kain to get back in bed. And Kain was sleeping in the same bed with another man, and Oberon shook his head completely incredulous, and he preferred to think that Kain had rejected him because he was straight and not because he wasn't his type. Kain returned to bed with Malik, and he lay down on the side of the bed before pushing himself to the edge as far as possible, and Malik stretched his hand to pet Kain's hair. Do you remember? The first time you slept over in my house, you had a nightmare, and I allowed you to sleep in my bed, and I petted your hair until you fell asleep. I petted your hair many times back when we were children. Do you still suffer from night terrors? Asked Malik. I am not afraid to fall asleep anymore. It is when I awake that the problems start, said Kain, inching even further away from Malik. I am sorry for punching you, Kain. I don't know why I did it, but obviously you didn't deserve it, said Malik, finally apologizing for real. You were crying, and I tried to hug you, and you punched me, and my new friend tried to carry you to the car, and you punched him every step of the way. And after you talked yourself out, you passed out and immediately forgot all of the bad things you did, said Kain, turning to face Malik. Malik was thankful for the darkness, and he didn't like to be seen crying, and crying was a sign of weakness. Crying was a sign of unmanliness, and men were not allowed to cry. And before he could help it, a whimper escaped his lips, followed by another and another. I am going to hug you, though I have permission to hug you in a brotherly way, asked Kain, opening his arms. Malik fell into his friend's embrace, and he cried a good while before falling into a deep slumber. And an hour past midnight, Kain too was able to consolidate sleep. And the following morning he awoke a half hour before 9. And he frowned when he saw Balthazar looming over him, and he was a tall, lanky, freckle-faced 19-year-old with monolith brown eyes and ginger hair. What are you doing? Asked Kain, sitting up. Balthazar showed his sketchbook, and there was a perfect rendition of Kain sleeping with his mouth open while drooling. Balthazar brought out a little writing pad, and he wrote these lines. Jeremy won't talk to me anymore, and I tried visiting him today, and he didn't allow me inside. He is angry because he told you a secret, and then you told it to Siddhartha, said Kain. And I have been thinking that maybe Siddhartha is a jealous secret boyfriend. I mean, think about it. His possessiveness of Jeremy is not normal, and you only see that type of behavior in jealous spouses. Huh, I hadn't thought about it, wrote Balthazar. But then why date Dorothy? To maintain appearances, mused Kain. But I'm not in the mood to talk about Siddhartha or Jeremy. I have more than enough on my plate without worrying about what those two strangers who do not consider me worthy of being their friend are doing. Kain left the bed to give himself a quick shower, and while he showered he hummed a little song, and he had somehow managed to wake up in a good mood. And he sat on Malik's drawers today. He looked through Malik's drawers to dig up a fresh pair of shorts, undergarments, and a tank top. And while he changed, he was completely oblivious to Balthazar's swift sketching hand. If you like art, I know a little artist collector that will be more than happy to add you to their ranks, and I can introduce you after I finish running my little errand, offered Kain. I don't want to be a bother, wrote Balthazar. He was about to write more, but Kain said, It's no bother at all. Kain went to the kitchen to start his little baking project, and he tested Oberon to inform him that he was up and about. And in less than 5 minutes, Oberon was knocking outside, and he had driven his car to Malik's house after work, and he slept there until he got Kain's text message. And little by little, the rest of the household was summoned to the kitchen. Rosanna was a little disappointed to know that Kain wasn't making breakfast. She busied herself with breakfast while Kain continued with his little baking project, and Malik eventually entered the kitchen, and he had awoken bright and early to meditate on his existence. And this was the first time he had ever done violence upon another person while drunk, and that side of himself appalled him. He frowned when he saw a stranger in their midst, and Kain explained, That is Oberon, and you also owe him an apology. Malik looked at Oberon's face before lowering his gaze, and it was painful to look at him. And Oberon, scoffing, said, I had worse, and you're not the first drunk I had the misfortune of hauling into a car. I don't usually drink so much, and what happened was all Carina's fault, and I only drank so much because she encouraged me to keep up with her. And she has a high tolerance for liquor for such a petite maiden, said Malik, displacing blame on Carina. And I sometimes forget that we are not in high school anymore and we can't drink as much as we used to. I really think you should go to AA, son, said Rosanna before serving a plate to her son. Where is Ariel? Asked Malik. She woke up early and she had a date with her little boyfriend and Grandpa went with her to the beach as a chaperone, said Rosanna. Talk about being a party pooper, remarked Oberon. Ariel is 12 and she needs a chaperone, said Malik. I don't trust that Oswald. He acts shy and innocent, but that brat already has a juvenile record, and the moment we turn our back on him, he's going to show his true colors. Come now, Malik. All he did was crash his father's car. And if father didn't want his son to crash his Mustang, he shouldn't have taught Oswald how to drive it, reasoned Rosanna. Mother and son gossip about Oswald while eating breakfast, and as for Kain, he amused himself by giving Oberon a crash course on baking cupcakes and cookies. And he showed him how to make the frosting, how to colorize it by squeezing blackberries and strawberries. And Balthazar to observe, and he took notes of all of the steps. Kain had his two prospective students make their own batches of cupcakes and cookies, and even with his instructions, they made a mess of it. And Balthazar burned everything while Oberon left everything almost raw. Not bad for your first time, said Kain. Now that everything has cooled, we can add the frosting and sprinkles, and here you go. I will give you a cookie and a cupcake to decorate. I want one too, whined Malik. Please don't exclude me. You used to exclude me every chance you got, Malik, said Kain while he battered the cream. Geez, talk about holding a grudge. And I was 12, Kain, and it isn't my fault that you were too shy to play whenever my friends were around, said Malik, rolling his eyes. Based on the contest clue, Oberon figured that Malik was Kain's childhood friend, and this explained why Kain didn't make a big deal about getting punched in the face. The cooking project concluded 2 hours before noon, and Kain followed Oberon to the car, and much to Oberon's annoyance, he saw Malik and Balthazar sitting in the backseat. Balthazar is gay, said Malik, bringing out a card with Balthazar's number, so if you're looking for a good time, please give him a call. You make cards? Wrote Balthazar, and why? I didn't give you permission. Calling cards make you look mature, explained Malik, and just because a diva Jeremy dumps you doesn't mean that you're not destined to find love. You are the only person I love, thought Balthazar. Instead he wrote, I want to win Jeremy back. Good luck. Natasha has taken a liking to the diva, as you like to call him, and from what she tells me, he's a total peach. But then again, Natasha always had a weakness for cats despite being allergic to them. And Jeremy's a bit feline-like in his moods and mannerisms, said Oberon. I noticed too, said Kain. If you get on his bad side, he isn't shy about baring his fangs. You know, like cats. The party is gossip about Jeremy all the way to Eugenia's house, and Kain tested Eugenia to make his presence known, and her niece walked on the guests before getting them to the pool area, and Eugenia was sunbathing, and she had officially had a noticeable belly, and her fiancé was resting his head against her tummy while he tried to feel for the tiny feet, and it was too early for the baby to be kicking. Even so, that didn't stop Santiago from trying to feel the little baby. And he was a brunette beefcake with honey-colored skin, a strong yaw, and a mustache for the ladies. Let me guess, you brought me this dessert because you want a favor, Kain dear, said Eugenia, sipping her iced tea. And she added when she saw Malik, and you want me to convince Daddy to let your friend have his job back immediately. You got fired? Asked Kain, surprised. I am shocked that you are shocked, commented Oberon, folding his arm. So it is fine for me to drink at work when your father asks me to share a glass with him, but it is wrong for me to have a pint when I am alone in my office, said Malik. You certainly do make a good point, mused Eugenia. Don't worry your pretty little head, darling, said Santiago, petting Eugenia's belly. And you have more important matters to think about, and I will speak to your father. Santiago went inside the house to speak with Michael, and he was roosting in his bedroom with his wife Eunice, and they were watching the movie The Core. And Eunice had a weakness for disaster movies, and aboard Michael every so often would text Jeremy a cat photo. Kain is here with Malik, said Santiago, and I want to know the real reason why you fired him. I didn't fire him. I gave him a temporary leave of absence, and when my first wife died, I almost drowned myself in alcohol. And I saw Malik walking the same self-destructive path, so I decided to intervene, said Michael. First of all, you still drink when nobody's looking, and second of all, having a pint at work now and again isn't enough for you to be considered an alcoholic, retorted Santiago. Alright, fine, it wasn't for something he did at work, said Michael. And he added saying a half-truth, and one of my employees sent me a video of Malik punching Kain and then getting thrown out of the club by a bouncer. And I consider Kain part of my family, even if he no longer is dating my daughter, so on impulse I fired Malik as punishment for what he did to our friend. Santiago returned to the pool area to explain the true reason why Michael had fired Malik. And he gave a pout when he saw Kain resting his head on Eugenia's belly, and she petted Kain's hair maternally while she mused about how her life was going to change after the child was born. And with her other hand she was munching on the freshly baked cookies. I spoke to your pops, and he fired Malik because he gave little Kain a black eye, said Santiago. And you are welcome back to the company as soon as you get that alcoholism under control. It is under control, and I haven't drank in over a day, and I can easily go without drinking for a month and even an entire year. You see this hand, said Malik, extending his hand. It isn't shaking. Withdrawal symptoms only kick up after the third day, said Santiago. If me drinking bothers all of you so much, then I will quit this house for good, and I will even waste time in AA once a week, if only to get all of you off my back, scoffed Malik. Perfect, said Eugenia. Consider yourself rehired. The company will see about finding a support group that suits your particular needs. Thank you. I wouldn't have been able to take the final step towards sobriety without your help, said Malik with a fake smile painted on his face. Thank you very much, Noah. An hour's silence followed, and Kain left Eugenia's side, and he felt he had abused her hospitality enough. And the next stop was Sebastiano's artist skill in Wynwood, and the exterior was a warehouse decorated with graffiti. And Balthazar nervously hid behind Malik, and he was afraid of getting mugged. And the moment that Kain entered within, he was greeted warmly by Sebastiano, and he was Kain's former art teacher. And after his divorce, he stopped teaching in high school to dedicate himself to his art. And he still taught classes sporadically, but now he was in control of the lectures. Kain, perfect timing. One of our artists models canceled today, and we are in need of a strong, hands-on young man, said Sebastiano, guiding Kain to the studio. And this wasn't the first time that Kain posed for the art class, and the first time he had been quite shy about the process, and now he felt super chill about modeling in the nude. And his friends followed after Kain, and he went into the bathroom, and he straight down before lying down on the sofa. And the artist got busy with their sketches, and Sebastiano did some correction in Kain's pose, and once he was satisfied, he went to his vitrola to play classical music. And Balthazar took an empty seat, and he began to sketch Kain as well. A bored Malik left the classroom to run about the collective, and his eye caught sight of a slender maiden struggling with her painting. It didn't take much flirting for Malik to convince the maiden to roll around the hay with him for an hour or two. Back in the drawing room, Oviedo was inviting the sight of Kain's nudity, and he didn't have a lick of hair in that silky body. And Eugenia wasn't too much of a fan of body hair, and back when she dated Kain, she had gotten him to shave his pits, legs, and other parts, and he started shaving after Eugenia dumped him, and the problem was that his body had gotten used to live without all that extra body hair. And now he shaved off that extra baggage because he found it more comfortable to live with silky, breezy skin. Oberon brought out his cell phone to take a photo of Kain, and Kain didn't notice as he was struggling to stay awake. And classical music always made him sleepy, and since nobody said anything, Oberon took another photograph, and Oberon frowned when he saw the quality of the two photos he had took, and then he drew closer, and this time he used the flash. And Sebastiano sprang from behind his seat, and he stood before Oberon to block his view of Kain. Sebastiano bellowed, "This is an art studio, not a nightclub. Paper and pencil only." "And why am I not allowed to take photos?" whined Oberon. "Making sketches is no different than taking photos." What we are doing is art, not pornography, hissed Sebastiano, visibly livid. Photography is a legit art form, remarked Overton, and he had always been a poor student, and what is considered art and pornography varies from country to country. Just let it go, Sebastiano. Oh, John. There isn't a need to form a big controversy over something so trivial, said Kain, nodding off. Sebastiano turned to look at Kain, and he changed the pillow position on Kain's head to make it easier for the youth to nap. And his beauty radiated now that his facial features relaxed, and Sebastiano placed his hand on his lips, and he didn't want anyone to disturb the sleeping beauty. And Oberon was allowed to take as many photos as he wanted, as long as he didn't use a flash. And Kain napped for an hour and a half, and he awoke when Malik loudly entered the classroom. And Kain stretched his elegant limbs before leaving the sofa, and once he was dressed, he went to speak with Sebastiano. Jan, yes, I almost forgot, said Kain, pointing to his friend. This is Balthazar. He's an aspiring artist and needs more space to do his artwork. Studio space is limited, said Sebastiano, and let me see your portfolio, and then I will see whether you're worth accommodating. Balthazar showed his sketchbook, and Sebastiano chuckled when he noticed that the bulk of it featured sketches of Malik. The earlier drawings show a happy, playful, or bored Malik, and the later drawings show Malik afraid, sad, angry, or indifferent. Do you like them? Asked Malik. They are very nice drawings. Balthazar is extremely talented. With a bit of instruction, he can easily become the next Dirk Dismirkiski. Like I wrote the name, but like, how if I can pronounce it? Said Sebastiano. The next who? Asked Oberon, raising an eyebrow. Yahoo, said Sebastiano disdainfully, and he asked, and do you want to paint a bit, Kain? Making a painting wasn't part of the plan, and I merely came here to introduce Balthazar to the group, said Kain. You paint now, Kain? Asked Mary, opening the doors of the classroom, and I saw some paintings being displayed in the second floor. Come and show me which one is yours. The friends went to the second floor gallery, and close to the window that overlooked the city, there were 4 unassuming little portraits, and Kain painted with paper, ink, and watercolors, and he added the final drawing first before tracing over it with ink, and afterward he erased the pencil eyes before adding the watercolors to the painting. Kain needed to practice drawing faces for his job, and he wasn't happy about his drawing hobby turning into a job, but he always did as his uncle Kain commanded. And this dissatisfaction manifested in his paintings, and it didn't matter whose face he painted, it always looked like he was about to cry. Hey, this little sad girl looks a bit like my sister, said Malik, smiling. I tried to sketch her from memory, so I got some of the details wrong, said Kain, criticizing his own work. And the rendering hair isn't my forte, and the eyes are also a tad too big, and the teeth look ghastly, and I don't know why I always have a hard time drawing smiles and open mouths. Most paintings do not show teeth, wrote Balthazar. Why? Asked Oberon, reading the notebook. Bad oral hygiene, wrote Balthazar. Even if it kinda just looks like my sister, I want to buy this painting from you, said Malik, giving a face smile. And he wanted Kain to sleep beside him again. He has slept like a baby with his friend watching over his dreams, so he was trying to butter up Kain by purchasing one of his paintings. You are really talented a painter, Kain. Don't try to be nice, Malik. I have known you long enough to tell when you don't really mean what you say. You don't know me as well as you think you do, Kain. A person can change a lot in the course of 6 years, and Malik patted Kain's shoulder. It is for that very reason that I'm not sending you my artwork, said Kain, shrugging away from Malik's touch, and I have no guarantee that you won't rip it in half before throwing it away. Can I buy your painting, wrote Balthazar. No, you're just going to give it to Malik when I'm not looking, protested Kain. Or I can just take it right now with you looking, said Malik, removing the painting from the wall. I'm done, Malik, done, said Kain, making his way out of the studio. He gave a final look at the painting in Malik's hand. He was going to miss it, but he wasn't going to give Malik the pressure of fighting him for it. And as he was going downstairs, he started having breathing problems. It was another panic attack. And with a trembling hand, he reached into his pocket to get his cell phone, and he needed to hear the recording of his doctor's voice to get his attack under control. And the cell phone escaped his trembling fingers, and he tried to save it from falling, but his wobbling legs failed him, and he would have fallen down the stairs if Oberon hadn't caught him by the hand. Oberon made Kain sit down to wait for this episode to pass, and Kain fell into Oberon's arm in search of comfort, and Oberon patted Kain's back until the fit passed. "I returned the painting," said Malik sheepishly, and he added, smiling warmly, and he was happy to have confirmation that Kain hadn't changed one bit. "You don't need to cry anymore." "I'm not crying, I'm just under a lot of stress, and I don't have the energy to put up with your crap anymore, Malik," said Kain, and he added, turning around, "and just because your life sucks doesn't give you the right to bully those stupid enough to try to help you." "I wasn't bullying you," said Malik, offended by the very idea. "I was just teasing you a little, and you used to find my casual ribbing hilarious." "I only laughed because my grandpa found your teasing hilarious, and everything about friendship was a lie," said Kain bitterly, "and a grandpa should have never forced us to interact, and if a friendship doesn't happen naturally, then it isn't real." Kain left the staircase to continue his path towards the parking lot, and he no longer wanted to be near Malik. That's that chapter. Bye-bye.